Good evening, everyone. Chip Cooper for FTC Guardian and my partner, Alan Cutts. Here we are for the second and last hangout in the month of March, which means that we're very close to the end of the first quarter of the year, 2019. I'm not sure.
Yep.
It's going by so fast, but anyway, no complaints, I guess. Before we get started, I'm going to let Alan tell you what he's up to. He's been very, very busy. I have as well, been very busy this month, but I'll let Alan tell you about what he's up to.
Yeah, no, for me, it's just doing a lot of client work and just busy. A lot of client work, and Chip's working on 3 books, so I'm kind of in the background trying to get all the funnels together for that kind of stuff. So it's been busy. It's been really busy.
About to get writer's block here, working on some more books. In fact, I know some of you purchased our agency-related book. Which believe me, there's several more to come for different groups of types of businesses that we cater to. So we'll give you a little bit more information as those books are completed, because there's got to be one of those books that really matches up with what you do in your business. And we'll give you all that information when they are available. So are you ready, Alan? We might as well.
Let's go. Yep.
All right, so we're going to share my screen, and you should be able to see my screen, right? So, right, you see the screen?
Yes.
All right, so you see the title there, The Fire Festival, Epic Social Media Influencer Debacle and the Legal Fallout. So we're going to be talking about not only the legal fallout, which is primarily what we do here, obviously, but we're also marketing oriented, as you know, if you've been a member and attended any of these anytime soon. In fact, we do what we think is a pretty good job of blending the two together, legal and marketing, and we're going to do that in this presentation. You also see up here at the very top of this slide, taken from a promo. Well, it's not really the same one, but it's showing a frown on the face of that image painted in the sand on the beach. But if you look at the top, you see Netflix. It's really their image that they use to promote their documentary on the Fire Festival. In fact, it was such an epic social media influencer debacle that not only Netflix, but I believe Hulu also had both significant documentaries on this event, and I would obviously recommend that you watch one of them to get more of an idea of what we're talking about here. So let's get started. You've seen this desktop before and the housekeeping announcement. The presentation is for informational purposes only. It's not legal advice, and we're not affiliated with the FTC. So we start with the logo diagram here. I guess the logo and this little diagram, which represents the Fire Festival. More on that, of course, as we proceed. Now, you also know that we're talking about a festival, a music festival that really was the terrible debacle that we're going to talk about in more detail in just a minute. But the way the festival started, the festival was really a launch, a spectacular launch event to launch a marketplace app. So really the beginning of the saga is a marketplace app. And you can see there below its logo, it's an on-demand service that makes booking celebrities seamless and transparent. So it's a marketplace where you could book a celebrity. So you know that the entertainment industry is very much involved in this marketplace app, of course, and that's the tie-in to the festival, which was going to launch the marketplace app. So who were the promoters here? 2, you see there on the left, Billy McFarland, who was really the primary entrepreneur, and then Ja Rule, a rapper who partnered up with Billy to be the promoters for the festival. And the launch concept, as indicated just a minute ago, was a music festival in the Bahamas. Now, Alan and I have been to the Bahamas a number of times on marketers' cruises and other trips there as well. And, you know, it's a great place to visit. The water looks like what you see there, crystal clear, very light blue. It's really a wonderful place to scuba dive and hang out on the beach. But the infrastructure there for a major event is just not there, right? So one of the terrible mistakes made was in the fulfillment of this promise, and you'll see more about specifically what I'm talking about in just a minute. The fulfillment was just not even possible. But they sold this dream and the whole idea of going to the Bahamas for 2 weeks or a week, 2 weekends in between to a week, and to have this music festival and all the glamour that was promised was really successful. But there was no way that the promoters could deliver on their promises. So here's the details of the pitch for this festival. I'll run through them very quickly. 2 weekends on either side of a week in April of 2017, an oceanfront music festival in the Bahamas. You see the artist names there on the third bullet. I'm not going to go through them. They're all big names, or at least rappers, very chic, very up-to-date acts. Upscale boutique experience. This is not for everybody, right? It's for the people who can afford it. Glamorous models in attendance, luxury villas, catered meals, all upscale, right? And tickets ranging from a low of $500 to $1,500. But then, of course, they've got the VIP packages, $12,000 for a flight and luxury tent. So that's the sort of the bullet points. And then the music pitch for the festival. I'm not going to go through these. You can glance at those very quickly there. And of course, if you watch the documentaries, you'll get a lot more information about who they were. But here is the pitch. And this is where the marketing genius of Billy McFarland went into play. He's pitching a dream, right? And you can see again the water, the catamaran in the distance, the guy with the beach clothes, and you see on a wave runner there what appears to be a model or some young woman there on the wave runner, and the text reads, "The best in food, art, and music and adventure." So if you've got a little money and you're sort of the age of that guy there on the beach and you want to really have a great time on an upscale basis, this sort of appeals to you, right? And this and think very carefully about the language here, the messaging. Really terrific. An experience that exceeds all expectations. Really pretty good, right? Particularly when you paint that on the water of the Bahamas there, it really gets exciting. And then the second one, 2 unforgettable weekends of mystery and music for those with uncompromising taste and a burning desire for adventure. Wow, who wouldn't fall for that? Of course, if they can afford to pay for it, right? And then the final one, a surreal island backdrop of the Exumas in the Bahamas where ordinary rules don't apply, with the best in music, cuisine, innovation, and hospitality. Again, a very upscale message, right? But then they throw in these influencers, all models, very glamorous, and they're promoting like crazy on social media for the launch here, which was this music festival. Again, adding to this aura of glamour. And of course, this is an example of one of the models. You know, I'm leaving 24 hours later, I'm leaving for the Fire Festival in the Bahamas for the weekend, et cetera, et cetera. But if you quickly glance at this influencer pitch for this festival, you will see, or you will not see, the hashtag ad, which is supposed to indicate that this model has been paid for this promotion. This is a model who is an influencer. She was paid serious money to make this and other promotional posts to her followers. And of course, as you know, if you've been involved with us on other Hangouts, you know that as an endorser, you're required to disclose what is called by the FTC a material relationship with whoever is behind what you're promoting, right? If you're being paid, hashtag ad. Or if you're an employee or have some other material relationship, it needs to be disclosed so that a consumer can determine whether this is really an objective endorsement or whether it might have been influenced by the payment of money in this particular example. So this promotional post by this influencer was not up to speed with FTC regulations because there was no such disclosure. Also, the ad agencies that might have employed this model and employed her as an influencer is supposed to, according to the FTC, manage this influencer and see to it that this disclosure is made. And of course, it didn't happen here. So there could be liability both for the influencer as well as the ad agency which employed the influencer for this particular project, this particular promotion. Let's look at a couple of facts that are really amazing. On December 12 of that year, of the year before, the Fire Festival influencer campaign launched. 63 influencers simultaneously posted a vague orange colored graphic, the one we saw at the very beginning of this presentation, to social media with the hashtag FireFest, garnering, watch this, over 300 million impressions in 24 hours. And again, the second era, the influencer marketing campaign extended beyond its initial launch, eventually with over 400 influencers getting fire posts in front of hundreds of millions of eyes. And then at the bottom, I'm not going to go into the detail there, but there were investors who were supposed to fund this sort of thing and get a return. And there was a pitch deck for them, and that didn't work out. And as you'll see, Billy McFarland is in prison right now by virtue of an FTC or SEC claim, Securities and Exchange Commission. So that was the pitch, that was the dream, but the reality was far from it. It just didn't work. They didn't have the infrastructure. There were very few restrooms. This is one of the few for hundreds of people who showed up. They had these ridiculous little tents that were supposedly, I think, tents that were used by FEMA for hurricane victims. They didn't work very well. And the cuisine you see there in a styrofoam box is 2 slices of bread, a couple of slices of cheese, and some lettuce and a tomato. You see here on the left side a lot of trash all over the place. On the right, a bandstand, no room to sit down, and just not adequate for any kind of a festival there. Now, one of the terrible things, a lot of people lost money, but the one group of people which I was really concerned about the most as I watched the Netflix version of this documentary is this woman in particular, Marianne Raleigh, I believe is how you pronounce her last name. It's a local Bahamian woman who's a businesswoman there on the island, and she helped round up a bunch of guys who were willing to work to set up tables and the bandstand and do all the work to get the site set up. And she paid them and then didn't get reimbursed by the promoters. And she lost her entire life savings. She got stiffed here as if she's one of the many people who lost a lot of money. However, as you can see here, some people had a fund on the internet and she recovered up to $120,000 of her life savings that she lost. So thank goodness for that. But a lot of other local people suffered. Now, the legal claims, before we talk about the business bullets, and you remember here, we're going to be balancing in this Hangout the legal and the marketing part of it, right? So if you look at the legal claims and sort of break them out as we see on this slide, there were attendees who paid a lot of money to attend this event who didn't get anything that was promised in the dream and in the messaging. So we have over $5 million in lawsuits based on fraud claims, breach of contract, and negligent misrepresentation. Those were the 3 types of claims. Actually, in a lot of the lawsuits, and these were class action lawsuits for groups of the attendees, all of these claims were made simultaneously. Then number 2, we have the Securities and Exchange Commission, which was involved because there were investors, meaning that there were securities that were being sold and offered for sale by the promoter, primarily Billy McFarland. And the fraud claims there totaled over $27 million. That was the big one. And the SEC really came down on Billy, as you'll see in just a minute. And then, of course, you have these influencer-related claims. There are a number of FTC investigations going on right now, I believe, not only against the influencers, as you'll see at the bottom, we talked about this at the beginning of this presentation, failure to post the disclosures of material relationships, which of course the payment of fees, but also the bullet on top, the influencer agencies, many of them were ad agencies, for failure to manage their influencers and to cause them to post the required disclosure. So that's a breakdown of the legal claims. So here we have a quote from a U.S. District Judge, Naomi Buchwald, about Billy McFarland. And she says, and this is a quote, "It is my conclusion based on all the submissions that the defendant here, Billy McFarland, is a serial fraudster." That's not good. Serial fraudster, and that to date his fraud, like a circle, has no ending. This was not a good idea gone bad. The bad intent was long withstanding. So, some people were saying, well, Billy just, got ahead of his skis here, or he outkicked his coverage, or, these euphemisms. But he was a great promoter. He just couldn't deliver. He had, he didn't have bad intention. He just messed up, right? He just over promoted something. But I think if you watch the documentary, there's ample evidence that he was really a fraudster, no question about it. And it's really difficult to just say that it was only, a good idea that went bad. That's just not the case. And so the result, as I indicated earlier, there were criminal sanctions here brought against Billy. He pleaded guilty to 2 counts of wire fraud, I believe in connection with his offering of securities. I think that's what was involved there for the festival. A guilty plea for wire fraud for subsequent sale of fake tickets. So after he got back and I guess the walls were coming in on him, he was trying to sell tickets to other events using the list of people who had signed up, and he was doing it fraudulently. That added to his problems legally, and he faced up to 40 years in federal prison for all of this. However, he had some pretty good attorneys arguing for him who basically said that the court should be lenient in sentencing because he had a bipolar disorder. Maybe that's true, I don't know, but that was really, their plea for mercy. So right now he is currently serving 6 years in prison with all of these claims running, these sentences running concurrently. So actually he got off pretty easy. He was facing up to 40 years and he got 6. So he was treated with a certain amount of leniency. I'm not sure exactly why. Maybe it was the bipolar order situation there. So let's look at the legal takeaways here. That's what we're really talking about. Number one, the FTC, as we talked about just a few minutes ago, holds both the advertisers and the influencers responsible for these disclosures. And the best disclosure here of this particular material relationship is #ad. That's what should have been in those promotional posts on social media. And if you're sponsoring an event such as this, you need to ensure that these disclosure requirements are in your contracts with the influencers. You also need to ensure, again, if you're hiring these influencers, that their promotional statements are true and correct. They're not just made up. They're not false. And you need to ensure that the influencers' statements are their honest opinions, that, these are, what they really believe about what they think they're going to see. And then, as you see in the next to the last bullet there, you need to really manage expectations of customers. And there were changed circumstances here as the date of the event drew nearer. All of a sudden, the promoters realized they were having a terrible time with infrastructure and being able to deliver on the promises. Maybe they could have just canceled the event and sent in refunds. One of the problems was they paid for these entertainment, the musical acts in advance with no holdbacks. And so they were out a lot of money. It was hard for them to cancel. They couldn't refund anything. And then finally, just as I just indicated, in contracts with the entertainers and the providers of these VIP events, a holdback of the portion of fees to be paid upon performance would have been good, rather than just paying for 100% of the entertainment before it's even performed, right? So holdbacks are always a good idea. So that's a quick summary of the legal rules and some of the recommendations to follow if you're involved in an event and you're involved with using influencers to promote the event. That's a quick summary of the legal requirements and some of the related recommendations. So here are some general takeaways I'd like to discuss briefly with you. And one question, as indicated in the first bullet there, is why in the world include the fire festival in a hangout? Because it's sort of like, you know, driving down the interstate highway and all of a sudden traffic stops and you're crawling along at 5 miles an hour and you see the reason for the stop is a big wreck that's on the side of the road, and people are not just speeding up by they're slowing down to look at the wreck, and there's a certain amount of interest in something so big that went belly up like this fire festival. So there's a certain entertainment value in just talking about something that was so horribly wrong in terms of promotion, pretty good, but the delivery of the result and the promise not good at all. So that's one of the reasons. But another point I'd like to make is I've been very privileged in my partnership with Alan to meet and to get to know a lot of the big players on the internet marketing stage, so to speak. I'm on a first name basis with a lot of them, and most of them are excellent marketers and they've got a lot of confidence. That's what they do. They're promoters, they're marketers. They really believe in what they can do to influence people to buy things, right? And so I've noticed a lot of them had almost overconfidence to the point of hubris. But confidence is pretty good, but if it goes over the top into the level of hubris, probably not so good, because then you're sort of on dangerous ground and you might be biting off more than you can chew or overkicking your coverage, that sort of thing, to use those euphemisms, and you could get in trouble. Confidence is good then. That's really the takeaway. But you know, if you take it too far, you can over promote things, and that can get you in trouble. And here's another one, the third one. I remember when I first got involved years ago with internet marketing, some people that I talked to, very successful marketers, were telling me that you need to just sell, say, a webinar or a product, say an information type product, just go out and sell it, even though you haven't created it yet. And I'm thinking, wow, I never would have thought to do that. And they say, oh, well, you know, we're marketers. You want to really understand if there's a market for this thing. So you sell it. And then if enough people agree to buy it, then you create it and deliver it. And so I see the value of that general advice. But if you take it too far, which happened in this particular case, they were selling like hotcakes for this thing, but they hadn't really created it and didn't know how to do it. They never had experience with how to deliver an event, even a small event, certainly not one of this scope, right? So be aware of this idea that, oh, well, you can sell something and then figure out how to deliver it later. You need to have a pretty good idea of how to do it or have experience of having done it. And then the fourth bullet, as a general takeaway, it's not all about marketing. Marketing is really important. And you're all marketers. That's why you're here, to talk about marketing and the legal side of it. But management, operations, and fulfillment are important too. And another thing I've learned, again, thinking back over the years that I've been involved with online marketing, internet marketing, is that a lot of the really good marketers are not very good at details, right? They're very creative. They promote. They've got great personalities. They think big. They're very confident. And they do very well with marketing. But some of them are terrible in terms of details and management and operations. And I would just like to take this opportunity to describe my partner, Alan Cutts, because he's good at both. He's one of the few marketers I've ever met who's not only a really good marketer, but he is one heck of a detailed guy. You know, when we have webinars with our joint venture partners, you know, the emails go out on time and they're correct, and all the follow-up is correct, and the tech support is done, it's in place. And when our when it comes time to pay the commissions that our affiliates, also joint venture partners, the checks go out on time, right? So Alan is really one of the few that I've met that's really good at marketing and also really good at the details, the management. So I'm just mentioning that for his, but I appreciate what he does, and I appreciate his balanced approach to marketing and details, which a lot of the big guys don't have. They're all marketing in very little detail. And then finally, the general takeaway is be sure to follow the rules, for goodness sakes. You can get into serious trouble, particularly with the bigger the promotion, the more risk you have. And if the thing blows up and fails, then you can have all sorts of trouble come your way. And of course, what we don't want to see is something like what happened to Billy McFarland, sitting in a prison right now as we speak. All right, the tags are pretty simple here. Fire Festival, and again, I would strongly recommend that you watch one of these documentaries. I like the one on Netflix to just get an idea of what really happened. It's very entertaining. Well, they wouldn't have done the documentary, right? They really did it in a very entertaining way. The other tags: influencer marketing, social media. So that's what we're going to have as the tags when this replay video goes up. And now I'm going to kill the screen share. There's my partner cuts. We're not in the screen anymore, the slides. So what do we have in terms of questions, if any?
First question is from Kevin. Chip, related to the model, not mentioning that she was a paid endorser. I receive anonymous feedback after my webinars. Do I need to qualify anonymous user feedback if I post such comments to promote future trainings in that offer? So
once again, help me, Alan. They get anonymous feedback.
Yeah, anonymous feedback, and he's using it to promote. And he's not being able to, because this is anonymous. He can't say John.D says X.
Well, First of all, you are the one using this testimonial or endorsement. The testimonialist, the person who gave the testimonial or endorsement, is not using it, posting it himself or herself to a social media platform. So that's a distinction between what you're doing and what happened here. The only thing you need to be concerned about is if you're posting this endorsement to promote your product or service, you need to make sure that, number one, if the endorsement is very specific, like an ad claim, I lost 10 pounds in the first month, or I saved this amount of money in a certain period of time, then you've got to be able to substantiate that all or almost all, that's called a success story testimonial, almost or all people can do the same thing. Or if you can't substantiate that, you need to disclose generally expected results. However, what you probably have, rather than a specific, I lost pounds or made money or whatever, you just have something that it was a great webinar. I loved it. I learned a lot. It was wonderful. Very great facts, all sorts of things that were very helpful to me. That is an opinion testimonial, right? I loved it. It was great. I enjoyed it. I learned a lot. I really profited. I really learned more in that hour than I have in a lot of other webinars. That is an opinion, and it's like puffery for an ad claim, and you can post that to help you out without any type of disclosure because it's not regulated. It's called an opinion testimonial.
But if it's anonymous, someone gave it to him anonymous, how does he, like we always have the person's name. What would you do?
So I think it's fine if you just say an anonymous visitor or anonymous participant in our webinar or whatever, just say that at the bottom. Yeah. Anonymously posted at the end of one of our webinars. Now, it's got to be true and correct. You didn't just make it up yourself. But I think if you just say anonymous recommendation or anonymous comment at the end of one of our webinars or an anonymous webinar participant, something like that, I think you're fine.
Okay. And then Mark said something about our CDCP certification. Yeah, we will most likely have an affiliate program with that. Just email support if it's something you're interested in. Because I want to chat with you about it before. If it's something you want to promote, I want to chat with somebody. It's not just going to be open to anybody to do it. So I'll chat with you. Now, I have questions about influencers, Chip. because I'm thinking for them.
You're thinking you're wearing the influencer hat right now.
Yeah. What constitutes an influencer? I have 400 people. I don't know, maybe probably more than that. But I mean, however many people follow me, and I say something. Am I an influencer? What constitutes me being an influencer?
I mean, if assuming that is true, or I mean, we're talking about a hypothetical case here, but you may have 400 people, you may have more, I don't know. But anyway,
well, yeah. I mean, so what constitutes an influencer? Yeah.
If you have a tribe, people who follow you, they're customers, or they sign up for your YouTube channel, they subscribe, these people follow you, then you could be an influencer, because you can then promote your products and services to this tribe, or you can promote others. So you're an influencer. You've got this group of people who tend to follow you. They look to you, and then you would qualify. And then the question is, do you have a big enough group, and is your product or service one that appeals to advertisers who want to tap into what you have? You know, that's
okay. So let me. The reason I'm asking the question. I'm asking the question for everybody who's out there, so that you guys know. Let's say you're on Facebook and you have 1,000 friends. Let's say 500 friends. It doesn't matter. You have so many friends on Facebook and so many people who like you on LinkedIn, and you're running an affiliate promotion where you're going to get an affiliate commission, and you make a post. Hey, this is really a cool program. You should check it out. That not only is an affiliate offer, but it's also an offer or
yeah, if you're promoting to your tribe as an influencer.
An influencer. It's an influencer promotion with an affiliate connection. That's what I'm trying to say.
The affiliate connection means if you drive people and they buy, you get a commission.
Right. But in the ad, according to what we need to do today, you need to put at the top that it is an ad.
Yeah, hashtag ad.
Hashtag.
Because if I'm the guy, if I'm employing you as my influencer, and I'm going to pay you a commission for every sale as an affiliate, then we have a material relationship, one involving payment, which could, influence what you're saying about my product, right? And the consumer wants to know whether your opinion about my product is completely honest and objective, or whether you might have been influenced by the fact you're getting paid for it. That's all. Yeah. I mean, and as I buy on Amazon the way just about everybody does, and I look at those verified reviews, and I give a certain amount of credibility to them because I believe they've been verified. Now, there's been scandals, but I like to know what people say about this product. Yeah. And it doesn't indicate they've been paid. These are just honest opinions. So anyway, I give them more.
I want to make sure everybody understands that an influencer doesn't have to be like hiring a model or hiring an Alec Baldwin or an actor or whatever. I mean, Joel Comm. Some of you may know Joel Comm. I know him very well. He has a large tribe, a large following. He would be an influencer, obviously, because he has a tribe, and he uses software and stuff like that. People send him stuff all the time, and he promotes it, online. But I mean, even someone like me, if I just really liked something and I pushed it, I could be an influencer for a decision, and it needs to be promoted as an influencer, as an ad on Facebook, Twitter, or whatever it is that you're using. So just be careful of that, guys.
You could be an influencer. I could be, but I don't have the big following. But I think when people see the term or think of the term influencer, what comes to mind is the typical young woman who might be a celebrity and who's pushing certain fashion dresses or clothes or makeup or perfume or something like that. And she's got 10,000 followers on Instagram, right? That's sort of the classic. Or there's another one that comes to my mind anyway, is the gamers, right? You have this guy named PewDiePie who had 4 million, I think, followers. He plays all the games, and he does videos of himself playing new games, and then he gives opinions. He likes the game or he doesn't, whatever. That sort of comes to mind. But anybody, whether you're PewDiePie or a celebrity or a model, you could also be an influencer as well. But those are the common stereotypes that most people think.
And just so you guys know, I mean, you need to think about it, because this is just at a ground level. Even though you've got the fry and all these things happening, this is really at a ground level. And the FTC is going to be taking a closer and closer look at this as it grows exponentially. I mean, as Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn and all these, any social media platform, because as people gain tribes and you're able to say, oh, this is a really cool product, they're going to say, well, is that person being paid to promote that? Yes or no? Through either affiliate commission or paid directly to do it. And they're going to look at that to do it. So you just need to watch that kind of stuff when you're doing it and or looking for somebody to help you do it.
Right. And what we're talking about here, this influencer type relationship, just happens to be one of the areas that the FTC is really looking after. I mean, there are 5 or 6 that are hot topics and high risk activities. Another one would be a free trial that transitions into a continuity payment. You know, the FTC is looking for those, right? And there are others. In fact, I've thought about having a webinar, say the top 5 that the FTC is really looking after. You need to be careful if you're involved in these, but I'm not. But one of them is this whole influencer thing and the disclosures that are required. That's one of the things they're after right now, clearly.
Yeah. Okay.
So, all right. Any
we are good.
Questions? You think we've covered this?
Yeah, we're good.
Has anybody watched one of the documentaries? Do we have time to see if an answer comes in? I mean, basically, have I been talking about something that no one knows anything about, or has anybody seen one?
Nobody posted anything yet. Yeah, no one said they watched it yet.
If you subscribe to Netflix, go there and watch it. It's really fascinating to see what these guys did. I mean, it's unbelievable. So it's very entertaining. If you're in the online marketing business, which I assume you are, you would find this extremely interesting to see how they created this story, this messaging, how they sold it. It was over the top. They just couldn't deliver what they sold. So very, very worthwhile. So, okay. So that's the end of this presentation. We'll see you very early next month for the first Hangout in April. Good night, everybody.
Good night.